Hello and welcome to the Sounds of Salisbury podcast. I'm Alex.
I'm Ellen. Why is that funny? It's my name.
It's because I almost forgot my own name then. That's terrible. But anyway, I'm here to bring you the sounds of the Salisbury music scene.
And I'm here to bring you the voices of the community.
We got there in the end, people. All good. So, before we go into what is this podcast all about, here's a couple of little snippets for you.
We have, as my colleague teases me because I'd say, we have a heart for the homeless.
So went travelling, spent all my money, then it was like, right, Mum, I need somewhere to live.
So we like to have a theme each week, and sometimes the theme is born from a music event that's happening, sometimes it's born from a time of year, something's happening, or sometimes it's a community event. And this week, our theme is Alone.
It is. And it's kind of happened because the two guests, so to speak, on the podcast when we were researching and trying to find people to talk to from a community aspect or a musical aspect, just seemed to cross over so perfectly that it just worked for, well, the theme came to us because of both of those.
Yeah, they almost linked together themselves organically, and we were lucky enough to be involved and get them both on the podcast.
We were the middle people, weren't we?
The middle people.
The middle people. And yeah, as you'll hear later on in the podcast, they're kind of getting along quite nicely, which is pretty good as well. Bringing people together, the Sounds of Salisbury podcast. I like it. This would be a bit dull if you weren't here and I had to do this alone, though.
I don't know. I think I work quite well alone sometimes. I could pre-record my bits and then you could come in and say something funny. And then I could just slot that in.
I thought you were going to say it and then you could just edit it out.
First guest is Rebecca from Alabare. And I know many people have heard of Alabare, but do you know the extensive work that Alabare actually achieve? So this is I think it's a powerful interview. I know both you and I, Alex, got a little bit emotional throughout the interview, hearing the stories, hearing about what they do, and then finding out about how we can help. So my first question was about how Alabare came about, and here's what Rebecca had to say.
So it started off with two Christian families, and they received a phone call, and there was a gentleman off the road who needed somewhere to come off the street. And this family had two small children, and they were saying, well, okay, I get we need to help this gentleman, but aren't there others that could help? And they said, well, we've been to everybody else. They've all done their bit. We'd like to ask you to do yours. And they thought about it. And yes, despite having two small people, this family took them in. And he was with them for a number of years. That seemed to be okay. But shortly afterwards, they had a phone call from a young mum whose husband was going into prison. And suddenly she was homeless. And there was nothing she could do about it. So she reached out and they took her in, and she had a small child with her. And the phone kept ringing. And they realised, despite how beautiful Salisbury is, there's an underlying problem here with homelessness. So they decided to set up the Alabare charity and raise their first amount of money, which bought Barnabas House, which we still have today. We've now been going just over 33 years, and we reckon, if we look back on all the number of people we've helped, we have supported approximately 35,000 people in that time. And the charity has grown in that while it started with that one house and the hope and the change that it made to those people's lives, we now have more than 70 homes, and we support up to 2,000 people in a year. So right throughout Wales, in Wiltshire, in Hampshire, so throughout the southwest, in the south, So we're now known as a national charity, but we have a local presence. And that's how people think of us, probably as this little charity. But in fact, we're one in the top 1% of charities in the UK.
That's incredible. That's an amazing growth in such a short space of time. It really does show that it was hugely needed.
We have, as my colleague teases me because I'd say, we have a heart for the homeless, but what that really means is that we come alongside people that you see on the street and that you would classically call homeless. We have young parents leaving the care system. We have 2 dedicated homes to young parents with babies. So you'd never think that a baby might be on the street, and no, the council will ensure that they're not. But in order for you to keep your baby, then you come to Alabare. So we can have as many as 9 young ladies and dads with their newborns with us at any one time. We also have a lot of young people that have come out of situations around domestic violence. We have adults with addictions. So we have dedicated homes for adults who are coming out of rehab. We don't want them to go onto the street, and we need to try and look after them so they can move forward positively in their lives. We have our veteran work, and we also have adults with learning difficulties that we want to work with them to enrich their lives.
Is that the Boots on the Ground?
The Boots on the Ground programme that you've talked about works with our veterans and our young people predominantly, and it's recognising that these 2 groups find it difficult sometimes to communicate. And we know there are things in their lives that have happened that have caused them to become homeless, and we need them to open up so that we can help them get the right connections, the right agencies that can move them forward. But often it's difficult. If you've ever worked with a teenager, they don't want to talk. But we realise that if we take them into the middle of the woods, that sounds a bit scary, and they do bushcraft, and they make a fire, and they cook their own dinners over it, or they go sailing, or all manner of different activities, while they're doing something with their hands that's a bit out of the ordinary, their brains start to say, okay, we can trust this person, let's give it a go, let's talk about some of the issues that have caused them to become homeless. With our veterans especially, they've served, they've went into the armed forces, they were trained well, they've served, they've come out, and now they need our help. And often it is a lack of dignity and pride stopping them from saying, you know what, I need some help. And we come alongside them. We can't fix them, but we journey with them to get them into a place so they can take up the opportunity of new employment, housing, develop those skills and confidences they need to move forward. So there's lots that we do that the general public don't see that work with a person so they never go back onto the street.
Brilliant. That's very informative and amazing work that you do. So us as members of the public, how can we help? What can we do to help fundraise, get involved? What do you need from us?
I need 3 things from you. I need you to be able to look at somebody who is homeless, and we've all been there, that we've either felt judged or ignored, and they absolutely feel either that they don't exist and you walk right past them, or that you look at them and you make an assumption about what they've done in their lives. And we have people who have been street homeless due to mental health breakdowns, relationships, things that are not within their control. And yet we all make these judgments against them. So the first request is see somebody, smile at them, because you don't know if that smile and those few words that you might say might give them the confidence to open up and let us come up, get them off the street. It might be you just turn their day around. We had one person who we worked with who was street homeless, and it took 18 years before he would say, you know what, I'm not getting any better. I really need to trust you. But it was because we were building a relationship with him as he sat out on those streets and begged. And slowly, because we noticed and we talked to him, he's come forward. So the first request is talk to people. We all do so much better. We're in a community that cares. Our second request is not many people know about us. So if you hear about something, even if you can't take part in the events that we do, then tell other people, because they might just be saying, actually, I'd really love to jump out of a perfectly good aeroplane and have the experience of my life. And we do such a good range of different events and ways that people can get involved. We have got a skydive coming up to mark D-Day, because it's 80 years this time in June. And for some of the veterans out there, it may be their last D-Day that they will see. So we want to mark that and be respectful of all that was achieved and sacrificed at that time. And we recognise for some of our veterans, those battles are still continuing, and we need to be there for them today. So have a look at our website. There can be things from the quizzes that are coming up. We do them twice a year. They're highly competitive, I should warn you. I'm particularly good at the chocolate round, but I think we're done on that one. We also have companies that work alongside us. So if any of your listeners actually work for a company that says, let's do something for charity, I ask you to consider doing it for Alabare. We love having teams involved, whether they're volunteering, whether they're putting on tutus and taking part in one of our fun runs. We just don't mind. But do something that raises our profile, gets people talking about it. And if actually none of that is for you, then consider sponsoring a room or leaving a gift in your will. Fundamentally, as a fundraiser and as part of the fundraising team, we are challenged to raise around £2 million every year for the work that we do. And it's so key that £2 million is an eye-watering amount. But what's so important to know is the difference that money will make. Did you know that if you have somebody that is on the street, they're most likely not to see their 48th birthday, whereas most of us will see our 83rd birthday.
Thank you. So if people did want to just directly donate, they can go to your website. And I noticed at the bottom you have whatever your donation amount is. It gives them an idea of what that would bring to the charity, how many meals, or whether it would be one room or a couple of nights. So people will know what it is that they're actually giving, and I think that's quite nice to know where your money's going and what it's doing.
I mean, I might just be being stupid here, but I didn't realise Alabare was like a nationally recognised charity. I just presumed they were a Salisbury charity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's because they're so well known in Salisbury, and they were born from Salisbury.
Which I think that's awesome. The fact that it is just literally a Salisbury charity that is now nationally known that's incredible.
It is incredible. I think it just shows what a community-based city we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do so much. We've seen, if I think back, I've seen loads of things that they do, to raise money, but also to help. You see it, but sometimes you don't really notice it, or it doesn't, make you think, but it should. And I think that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I asked her was 3 things that we can do to help. So I thought in this little mid-segment, I would look at 3 things that I've kind of taken from the interview so far. This is part 1 of 2, because we've had a natural split. And my 3 things would be, number 1, you're not alone. I think that's quite important for people, especially nowadays. They can feel so alone, even if they're a room of crowded people. They're on Facebook, they've got hundreds of friends, but they sometimes feel that they've got nowhere to go, no one to speak to. And I think this just proves that none of us are really alone. There's always somebody there willing to help, wanting to help. So that takes me on to 2, and the fact that we can help.
Yeah.
And we can give our time, we can give our money, or we can just give our love. So this shows that one little act of kindness has grown to help thousands of people.
I think that's a key one, because maybe we've lost that in society, just the ability to try and help as much as we can. Just little things can make somebody's day so much better than we'll ever know.
Absolutely. Just a smile, like she said, just smile at someone, and it can really lift your spirits through the day. Smile and the world will smile with you, as they say. So my third is going back to basically Salisbury and how beautiful Salisbury is. We're very cultured, we're inspirational, we're supportive, and it's just such a great city to live in.
It is. It really is. And I think the cultural side is, like I said, is fantastic. But the community aspect, there's so much going on for everybody, and we try to really embrace as much as we can as a community. And the more that we can do, the more that we can help. Let's
go back to Rebecca and find out what we can do. You've obviously got a few events coming up, like you say. And I think the first one that I was drawn to was the Big Sleep.
So we have our Big Sleep at Salisbury Cathedral is an annual thing. It's been happening now for 16 years. And the cathedral are so wonderful to us. It's a beautiful location. I didn't realise that the clock goes every 15 minutes until I realised at 2:30 in the morning that I'm still hearing it. The way that we set it up is we give everybody a full kit list of what you need, because you do need to come well prepared. We go down to -4. I'm not expecting this year. I think it's going to be fine, but we have we can do that. Last year, it went down to 4 degrees. It was still cold. And when we woke up, it was snowing. And that was remarkable. Such a beautiful building. Hopefully you will stay dry. We've never had a problem around that. And we're joined by a number of schools. And those young people, they tend to be ages 14 plus. And they get an experience of what it is to be homeless. It's a small taste. Let's not pretend it's the real thing. But they can go away and say, okay, I'm really glad that's not my reality. And yet we will have young people, 16 upwards, who that is their reality. So it's a great way of helping a young person learn that their one act of compassion can make a difference to somebody in their peer group. So our youngest has to be 14 because for safety reasons, that's where we set it. Our eldest is a very fabulous 83. And he checks with me every year, am I still your eldest? And I'm, yes, you are. He's done more than 10 sleep outs. And when we did, we had to shut down for 1 year during COVID, as you can imagine. And so we did the Big Sleep at home that year. And he went out in his shed and he slept rough there. And it's just remarkable. It's so fabulous that we will have people of all different walks of life and all different economic situations. Yes, the target is that you attempt to raise £100. If it's a young person, it's 50. The schools are great because they'll do bake sales and other things. And some people will do extraordinary amounts of fundraising. That's not quite so. That's all good because you are doing more than raising funds. I go back to the clients that we help and say 230 people chose to give up their warm, comfy beds for one night in order to help more homeless people like yourself. And they're like, really? Why would they do that? Because that's the level of compassion and care that there is in Salisbury's community.
It is wonderful. It is beautiful to see. And I've always said that Salisbury is a special place and people do seem to really care about each other. There is a real sense of community. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to bring the community element to the podcast, because it started off being just about the music scene, but being able to find out about what everybody in Salisbury is doing and get involved and help each other and to extend that sort of family across the whole city. It really is beautiful. So the Big Sleep, what can people expect this year? Because you said that you have some music.
We do. So we get people to these extraordinary venues, and naturally, at some point, they're going to need to attempt to sleep. But, they're quite wise to the idea that despite the many blankets and things that they bring, it's not going to be warm. So they tend to try and push it off to the last minute. And therefore, I have an opportunity to both educate them about what we do, but also we do some interaction and we have some entertainment. And every year we have a different band or group that joins us. And this year, we're so pleased to know that Gareth James, the singer, is joining us with his son, who's going to sleep rough with us too. So I'm so delighted. I've been listening to his music, and it really resonates with the message that we are talking about connecting people. We don't want people to be lonely. We want people to feel they've got somebody to talk to, because that can make such a difference between somebody's journey. I think when we do a lot of work with the schools, we talk about how people have difficulties in life, but if you have a support network around you, you're much more likely to survive those bumps in the road. And often the people we help have nobody to turn to. So having Gareth join us, and he's going to chat to me about what some of his songs mean and sing, is fabulous, because it should be a really poignant moment in the event. And then we're being joined by request, which is utterly lovely. Last year we had the Fijian Assemblies of God choir, and they came, and we had about 120 young people with us, and they're very respectful that people come in and entertain us. And so they stood there for a bit, and the music was pretty lively. They started to dance, and then one school challenged the other school to a dance-off. So we started to see them go. And then the choir saw this going, and they went, no, hold on a minute. Let us teach you how to dance to this music. So they led on how to do Fijian dancing with the Fijian music, and everybody had such a great time that the choir said, can we come back and do it again? Wonderful. Just such a great atmosphere.
Fabulous. And so we can sign up via your website?
We'd be delighted to have some more people join us. It is the 8th of March coming up. It's always a Friday. I give you the weekend to recover, and you can go home feeling, I've made such a difference. We look after you. We give you this kit list. I stay awake all night with one of my colleagues, making sure everybody is fine. And then in the morning, we're delighted to say McDonald's are coming with breakfast.
Did somebody say McDonald's? Yeah? Sign me up. The Big Sleep, I've got to say, is a brilliant event. We've not done it, and I do think we would quite like to, but I can't even say that we're knocking on, because there's a gentleman who's been doing it for years. He's now 83, so huge respect to him. But yeah, I do think we will probably do it. But respect to everybody that's doing it. They're going to raise an awfully good amount of money, which would be fantastic for the charity, because it's exactly what is needed. And yeah, if you fancy sleeping out in the cathedral, then please check out the website. We'll have a link there, but also, you can also go to the Alabare website and search for the Big Sleep.
Yeah, please do get behind it. I think it's going to be a fabulous evening. Might end up being a little bit cold and uncomfortable, but it's all for a great cause.
Exactly, and it's it's cold and uncomfortable for people out there, living that way. So if
Absolutely.
you can do one night and help raise money to help people, then that's something that needs to be done.
Yeah. So get up and do your bit.
Get up and do your bit, or lie down and do your bit. It's as is.
Do your bit in your sleep.
There you go.
That's amazing.
So, moving on, we'll get to my my musical guests in a moment.
Yes.
But I thought I would bring to the table, Ellen, literally a table, because we are around the table, our kitchen table time machine. My top 10 list.
Big intake of breath of
songs about being alone.
Okay.
Because, makes sense.
It does. It goes
So-
with the theme.
Goes with the theme.
You haven't gone on a complete tangent.
I don't know. Some of these people might kind of go, oh, that's an interesting take. And others might just say, that's got nothing to do with loneliness.
Okay, so
Yeah, we'll give it a go.
let's listen
Let's have a
and
go.
find out what we
Yeah.
think.
So at number 10, because I'm down with the kids, all right, Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo.
That's a great song.
It's a good song.
Yeah, I like that
And,
song.
Hits the brief, I think. At number 9, one for Mr. Gowman, Loneliness of a Long Distance Runner by Iron Maiden. At number 8, How Soon Is Now by The Smiths. Now, there'll be a few people that love The Smiths, and I'm sure they'll get that. So there you go. At number 7, Lonely Boy by the Black Keys, which is a great song. You're staring at me like you're not 100% sure, but it's a great song, trust me.
Okay, I will listen to that later.
Okay, here's one that you'll probably know then. At number 6, Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles. All the lonely people.
Oh, yeah.
that do... Yeah, I won't continue singing. You'll have to come to a gig for that, I'm afraid. At number 5, A Solitary Man by Johnny Cash. Okay. Number 4, Only the Lonely by Roy Orbison. Number 3, this is where it gets interesting, Boulevard of Broken Dreams
Oh,
by
Green Day.
Thought that would pique your interest.
yeah.
You were very quiet through all the others, but I knew I had
I was
one.
listening intently. I'm just
I know,
taking
but
it
I
in.
had one
but-
that would make you go, oh, hang on a second, somebody said Green Day. Oh, oh, oh. Yes, that's Ellen's big thing. She was bopping up and down like an absolute loon to Threemo at the weekend. Well done, lads. Great set. Ellen very much enjoyed
I
it.
very much enjoyed it. Thank you, guys.
Uh,
3 more.
Threemo. Thank you for the badges as well. At number 2, Alone by Heart. What a tune.
Yep.
That takes me back to my late 80s hair rock days when I had hair.
I will find pictures for you people.
Nope. And at number 1, All By Myself by Eric Carmen.
Brilliant song. Just takes me to Bridget Jones's Diary.
Which apparently, and I'm going to say this now, going to out him completely, Brian Mundy from BSM Stage Tech has never seen.
Okay.
So,
It's a bit of a chick flick, though.
It is,
I can't slate him for it.
I think he needs to sit down and watch it. I'm sure he'll love it.
I'm sure he's
Well,
going to
Brian.
appreciate you calling him out. Okay, so moving swiftly on again from your amazing list. Oh, actually, quick question. Why that order? Just because they're your favourite songs, or they mean that much to you?
No, I just they were the first 10 songs I thought of, and then I ordered them in to an order.
Deep. That's
Deep,
really
yeah.
deep.
No, I think it works. I think it kind of works.
Okay.
But who knows? Let us know. Let us know your favourite songs about being lonely or songs about being happy. Let's boost this a little bit.
Yeah.
Let us know your favourite songs about being happy, because that's cool, and I like that. Speaking of happy, my next guest, wonderful fella.
Yep.
Very much enjoyed chatting to him.
Very much enjoyed listening to you chat.
Yeah, he was a good man. And his name is Gareth James, and here he is now. So Gareth, thank you very much for coming on the show. So are you based in Salisbury now?
I am, yeah. So me and the family moved down here about 18 months ago. Yeah, we're loving it, and yeah, got to know the sort of local music people, which generally are sort of people. That was what it was like in Basingstoke before that, and yeah.
Because I was going to say, yeah, you're originally from the Basingstoke area. Sounds weird because it's only literally down the road, in fairness, but what's the music scene like there?
That's got a bit sort of quieter, and I guess so. I met my partner through the music scene in Basingstoke as well, and so a lot of our friends were were from that same thing, primarily like the DIY sort of punk scene, very much so. But it appears that as we've sort of grown older, there isn't anything sort of coming up behind, if you see what I mean. So they had some really, really good. Well, I had one particular very good music venue in the town, and as soon as that was, that sort of closed down because it was being run by people from the music scene. Not a lot going on. So and then COVID hit, and that sort of took out any sort of venues, and promoters found it very, very difficult to I guess bother with trying to get people out, and it's a hard thing to try and get people to come out when people have then been told to stay at home for so long.
So how have you found the Salisbury scene so far?
Yeah, really good. I was aware of Rob Blake from the Winchester Gates. So he was in like a ska punk band, very sort of same sort of time as when my punk band sort of started, which is what I started doing back in the 90s, I guess. So I was aware of him, and then when I found out that he ran the Winchester Gate, and we came to look for a house in Salisbury that was 4 doors down from the Winchester Gate, we were like, well, okay, well that's a plus point as well. So I did a couple of sort of support slots there, and from that, met people from the crowd who were like, oh, that was great. Why don't you come along to this, or come and do an open mic night just to come and meet people? And then there's the Georgian Dragon lot. So I met those sort of guys who do a great sort of open mic on a Sunday. It's a good way to meet local people. Right?
I mean, Salisbury's full of not only sort of fantastic talent, but the ability to connect as well. That everyone's open for giving feedback or just helping or collaboration. It's a wonderful environment for a music scene. And there are lots of venues as well that are trying to push that.
And that's what we found, and we met a couple of sort of close friends now from the Salisbury music scene who are in the same sort of situation as us. We got like a 3-year-old, so getting to know other music-y people that also have babies and small sort of kids has been really helpful, because they know what we want to do. Babysit for each other, help each other out, and it's just it is a nice community. And in fact, sort of focusing on music this year, I'm not really looking to go sort of too far and beyond for music this year. Usually, I play all over. I spend a lot of time playing in London, and I just don't have the urge to do that right now.
So, you're a singer-songwriter. You alluded there to the DIY punk world is where your roots are from, and you mentioned about a band you're in. So I know a couple of bands that you're in. Second in Line, and one of my favourite band names of all time. I got to say this. Plus 10 Damage. So just sort of tell me about the background there and those bands.
Yeah. So Second in Line was a band that me and one of my best friends started when I came back from travelling when I'd been in my 20s. So I grew up in Newbury, so went travelling, spent all my money, and then it was like, right, Mum, I need somewhere to live. and then sort of just catch up with my old sort of mates, and we started a punk band, and so I remember sitting in his garden trying to work out what should we call ourselves, and we were going through, I don't know, like Colonel Decker from the A-Team, and then there was just all these other weird names sort of just coming out, and actually naming a band is harder than writing songs quite often. And then you just came up with Second in Line, and we're like, do you know what, I've had enough of thinking about it, that's fine, let's do that. But we're coming up to 21 years I think it is, and we still we played in Salisbury. Actually, it was our last gig at the Georgian Dragon. And an old promoter from Basingstoke actually was putting on some, I think they were Finnish, some punk bands from Finland or maybe Holland, something like that. So they were playing this, and would you like to come and play? So so we've got Second in Line over in Salisbury, but we do maybe 3 or 4 gigs a year at the moment. But we were doing at one point close to 100 sort of gigs a year, and it was a lot of fun. Plus 10 Damage was a completely different kettle of fish. So I moved to Maidenhead at one point, and so I was living there I worked for S3E, and that's where their head office was, and then sort of caught up with some mates. So the good thing about DIY punk is you've got pockets of DIY punks all over the country, and you just automatically just fit in. So you have these sort of friends, and you come and play in each other's towns, and you're just mates, basically. So a lot of our mates from the Slough days, when Second and I would go and play in Slough, I was sort of hanging out with them a bit more often, and myself and Dan, who started Plus 10 Damage, were very much into Weezer, as well as all the sort of hardcore sort of punk stuff. So it was just more fun in, songwriting, really, not just the sort of playing as fast and heavy and aggressive and all of that sort of stuff in the punk stuff. This was more about how do you actually structure songs, how do you write them, what sort of melodies, if there's gaps there, how do you fill them, or do you need to fill them, or and was like get the feel from the crowd as you start playing them, and then we would go back and record them. So very, very proud of both bands.
So from them as in the bands, you've moved into solo work. So how was the transition? How did you find that?
So I don't know. Like initially, when I first started doing it, I thought, this is really scary, putting yourself out there. But it's something I really, really wanted to do. And I guess when you first sort of nail it, you play a few songs and it went well. You kind of think, oh, okay, this is good. I can do this. But what you realise is it's a real journey, like being a solo artist, because it's not just getting the songs right or people enjoying the songs. You've got a lot of like dead air to fill. In between every song, it's only you. Any mistakes, there's no one covering them up. If you don't say anything, then is it boring the crowd? And then you start worrying about things. So it's a real journey. And I started off doing a couple of covers and maybe 3 or 4 of my own songs, and then I've gone through all the songs that I've written over the years. I've probably been doing it like 5 plus years, the solo stuff now. I'm primarily focusing on that, and like I say, I've probably got a completely different set from what I started with. I've changed the songs based on different reactions. I still play some DIY punk gigs, but then a lot of it isn't. It's like just some people would call it folk. If you're a guy playing the acoustic guitar and you've got a beard and you're singing, but you're going to get called folk. Doesn't matter what you do. So is it like folk punk? Like, not really. It's I'm just written some songs. Some of them have got a bit more of a kick to them. Some of them are ballads. One of them's Lullaby to my daughter. There's another song that I wrote dealing with the grief of my father dying. So it's a real mix, and putting a set together, you almost have to like read the room and think, right, what sort of emotions do I want to convey? What do I want to get out of it? How do I slow myself down so I'm not just rushing through the song so much? And I'm still learning a lot about being a solo performer. I think you constantly do.
So we listened to your album on Bandcamp today, Right as Rain, and it's great to hear you say about the differences in songs and styles, and it's about where you are when you write them. You don't set out to write 12 acoustic punk songs. You write what's in your heart or in your head at that time, and how they come out. Because an acoustic punk song as a lullaby for your child probably doesn't work as well as, okay, I'm going to write an acoustic lullaby for my child. It might have tinges of it, but this is where I am at this moment in time. We loved it. Luna's song was really cool. Twinkle Twinkle Little Moon, again, so those ones were really different compared to some of the other ones that you had on there. Weaker Than, I thought was excellent. The one song that caught our attention and probably brought you onto the podcast because of where we were going with the theme of the podcast was Walk Alone. Can you talk to us about Walk Alone? Because that's the song that we'd like to play at the end of the podcast. So can you give us a little indication of what that's about?
So I was speaking to Rebecca today from Alabare, and she had said the same. Like, it sort of really caught her, and she was able to tell me exactly, what I was thinking when I was writing it. She's like, I could feel, the sort of the connection that you made to, people feeling a bit lost and, feeling at the, not the end of the tether, but just like there's a real connection to what they do for a charity. And that's exactly what it is. This song basically about having, reaching out to people. If people are reaching out to you, they're not doing it for, to annoy you. They're doing it maybe because they just need to, they need like a friendly voice, or they just want someone to talk to. And the idea of that song is to sort of highlight that and to remind people, particularly like over the sort of COVID times and things like that. It's always good to just reach out to your friends or family or whoever. Just check everyone is okay. Do they just need some of your time? That's all. That's all. Sometimes that's what people want, and almost just to think of, have you missed some of those signs that someone sort of said? If they sent you a message and they're just like, hey, you've got 5 minutes, you're like, no, I'm not, I'm too busy, I've got this going on. Okay, not a problem. Maybe it was a problem, or maybe they really did want you to talk to them, but maybe don't dismiss it. Go back later, when you're not so busy, and go, do you know what? Like, I'm sorry, I wasn't available, but hey, yeah, I've got 5 minutes for you. Of course I do.
So, obviously we spoke to Rebecca as well, and she's absolutely over the moon that you're going to be going to Salisbury Cathedral for their Big Sleep night and actually performing a couple of songs as well.
That's right, yeah. So I'm going to do maybe 2-3 songs, but definitely going to do Walk Alone. Just, a song that makes a lot of sense to play there. I shall explain to the people during the big. I think it's like 250, 260 people that are going to be there. This is what the song's about. Just have a think. Just think while you're listening to it. While you're hopefully enjoying the music. This is why we're here, to raise awareness. That when me and my son are also. So my son's 14. He was very, very keen. He's like, "Oh, come on, ask them if we can sleep over as well." I was like, well, that wasn't what I was thinking, the sleeping in the cold until whatever. But of course, don't do one part of it and don't do the rest, do you know what I mean? So we're going to sign up and do the big sleep as well. And what I'm really quite excited about, they got a Fijian choir that apparently played last year. Very, very excited to sort of see and hear them and meet them. And, it sounds like obviously it sounds like a great experience, but there's a reason for it, right?
Of course, I mean, the reason everybody is there and doing it is beyond, comprehension in that respect. It's something they should all be exceptionally proud of doing. But yeah, from the perspective of being able to do that, Salisbury Cathedral is a beautiful, beautiful place to sort of be able to spend the evening and the night there is something stunning. And fair play to your son for kind of going, come on, let's do that. If you're going to go there and play guitar, let's stick around and stick it out for the whole night. So that's really, really cool. Yeah,
well, there's a lot of schools that I think are involved. But he moved over last year to join us in Salisbury, and he goes to the Trafalgar School in Downton. But they're not one of the schools that's quite engaged yet. So hopefully through Jack we can get some further engagement through there as well. And you could tell I'm a newbie still to Salisbury, because when I was speaking to Rebecca and she was like, "Oh, we're playing at the Cloisters," and I was kind of like, "Well, can you tell me whereabouts that is, in the Cloisters?" And I'm like, "Well, I think what we've understood here is I don't know what Cloisters are." So then when she explained that this is where it is, "Oh, I know the bit you mean now. Right, that's Cloisters, got it, right."
So I know you said earlier you're not sort of looking at doing too much in the music scene as far as going out and about is concerned, but trying to maybe just resonate within the Salisbury music scene. Have you got anything else lined up this year so far, or anything at all?
The Winchester Gate with one of my all-time favourite UK punk bands, which is a band called Snuff. And they had an acoustic set, so that's sort of been planned for a while. So Rob did say, look, there's supports are there for you if you want. I know you love them, so I did that. But no, generally not. Well, I haven't planned too much. I will no doubt do some more gigs. There's potentially one with a guy called Frankie Stubbs, who was in a punk band called Leatherface from sort of back when I guess I was starting out. So very, very influential band from Sunderland. So should be doing something along those lines. I played recently with another band, which was a highlight from my childhood, was the band called China Drum. Like they played Reading Festival in like the 90s, and they were huge when they came out. I still listen to one of theirs, and I played with them in London recently. So that sort of stuff, I've sort of ticked a few bits off, and now it's like, okay, the album you listen to on Bandcamp was sort of kind of unfinished. A dear friend of mine called Tim Holhouse recorded it for me, but we never really progressed it any further. There was issues with one of the songs you mentioned, Weaker Than, where like there's a sample, and even though it was in like public domain, there's some licensing issues there, so I didn't do that. And then a load of other stuff happened, and then I thought, do you know what? I don't even play half these songs anymore, so I never finished and properly released it. So that's why I just put it on Bandcamp, and people can download it. It's not sort of edited together as an album as such. So I'm going to do some recording, get a lot of the new songs recorded, done, focus on that, and then do a few gigs here and there. And if there's any support slots coming up, or I may look at a venue to start putting on an acoustic night and bring some of my friends from around the punk scene over to Salisbury, and get them in, and hopefully introduce them to the wonderful people and the music scene that we've got.
It's brilliant. That's brilliant. I mean, you've literally just answered my next question, really, which is new music. So that's wonderful to know that you've got that on your radar. That's the one, radar, which is fantastic.
That's good, and like I've written quite a lot recently, so I think it's just been focusing on like just family. Like I said, my son moved into new school. My partner, she went back to work. My daughter's now in nursery, so any sort of like night out, which I would have maybe done like a gig, would be a night out for me. Like I'd like to sort of spend a bit more with them. So what I have done is spend a bit more time at home playing the guitar, and I've probably written 20 songs. I like whenever there isn't a support slot, or Rob is looking for someone to sort of fill in, I'll say, of course, like I'm 4 doors down, I can't charge you petrol money, Rob. Like I've never had that many gigs that are 30 seconds walk from my house, so it's great. Try new stuff there, and so I'm really happy. It's just then it's a nice position to be in, to go, Joe, I'm only going to pick like 10, 12 songs. And then my son's like, no, don't do that. You just do one song. That's how it works now. Well, the old man, like, release an album. No one cares about that. It's like, release one song and do a video. It's like, okay, well, work with me and show me what to do.
So that was the wonderful Gareth James, the guy who arguably brought this whole podcast together for us with the theme. And you can check out his music via our website, or you can download his tunes on Spotify. If you want to see him live, obviously sign up for the Big Sleep, and he'll be performing there. And we will leave you now with his song, Walk Alone.
'Cause I walk alone, but I talk a lot. Can't be on my own, 'cause I care too much. Do you after time to spend with me a while. Oh well, never mind. Catch you next time, oh when. Then I'll